Okay, now we just started. Welcome to Just Rewind. Okay, we are here. I'm in Valley Cottage, New York. I'm Marty Schupak. I'm joined by Ray Clifford. And we're doing this. I'm doing this as a host on my phone for a number of reasons, but we'll get into that maybe later. Actually, we're 1 week away. 1 week from right now, we're recording this 5:30, by the way, on Sunday. We'll know how the Jets did against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ray, how are you doing out in Marysville, Ohio? I know celebrating the Buckeyes' victory yesterday over the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, that well, 2 days ago. But it was Saturday they played. Notre Dame played last night. They lost a tough one. It's been great weather. If everything holds out the way my phone says it will, we should have great weather next weekend for the Jets game as well. So uh,
Right. Good.
it,
Okay, we're going to just really, at this point, we'll have a preview show, and Ralph will join us later in the week. But we're just going to go over the roster, and it's kind of old news. I'm sure you've all heard, and we all have the same likes and dislikes. But we'll go over it. But I just want to mention that it is so hard, Ray, to get an updated version of the depth chart, the practice squad, everything. Thank God for Rich Cimini. He stays on top of it. And just a little house cleaning. The Jets have signed linebacker Mikhail, that's Mykal Walker, and running back Lawrence Toafili to their practice squad. The team also released linebacker Aaron Boog Smith from the practice squad. Walker, 6'3", 235, played in 74 games from 2020 to 24 with Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and the Commanders. Registered 241 tackles, 7 tackles for losses, and 3 fumble recoveries. And Walker, who's most recently with the Cardinals in training camp, played in 17 games last season, again for the Commanders. He logged 344 special team plays in addition to 77 defensive snaps, 21 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries. So I'm not quite sure. I read 2 separate things that sound like the same guy, but nevertheless, they signed 2 guys. Quickly, I just want to go over a couple of things, Ray, and I'm sure we're going to have the same feeling. And you saw who was cut and who they kept. So let me have your initial reaction. I'm sure it's very similar to mine and most Jet fans. Go ahead, Ray.
um, I was shocked that they cut uh, uh, Pritchett and kept Gibson. I thought it would be the other way around. But I'm even more shocked that he cleared waivers, so we were able to get him on the practice squad, which is good because that means we can, if a team does try to take him, we can put him on the active roster to block it if they were wanting to do that. Same with Cook. I was a little surprised he got cut and then cleared waivers, and so he's on the practice squad too. I was happy about that. Um, not too shocked other than those with any of the ones other ones. Zaire Barnes I thought would stick, but then this is what I'm always, you wait for that day that's cut down day. They go to 53 and you think, okay, there's the roster, but then they start picking up free agents and guys on the waiver wire, and so the 53-man roster is rarely actually the 53-man roster that they originally post, because within hours somebody's usually getting snagged off the waiver wire or as a signing with them as a free agent. So then more cuts come, and that's what's still going on to a point. But all in all, I didn't think it was, I didn't
Right.
wasn't too surprised other than those two.
And your feelings about Donovan Edwards ending up with the Commanders?
I think that's a good spot for him. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't keep him, but that they they got a glut of running backs in a way, but I still see that in those preseason games, not that they tell you a whole lot, but it seemed like the same stuff. We got one guy for Braylon Allen for inside, but they kept trying to run Brees inside, which I didn't understand because that's not his strong point. But
Right.
I think the running back room's okay. I would have
Yeah.
liked to keep it Edwards, but I don't think it was an absolute killer.
Yeah, and they picked up a player, Corey Black, at cornerback. This is apparently it got into the media how there was a Jets versus Giants, kind of a waiver wire war, and they picked up this guy. The Giants were a little upset. He was a seventh round pick, has some pretty good upside, and because the Jets signed him, the Giants signed Zaire Barnes, and it goes back apparently. But it's a I read that it goes back to the regime when they signed. Who was the safety? Pinkett. What was the guy's name? The Giants signed him. He ended up starting for them. He was a good player. We had him. But
Yeah, we had him for a while.
yeah, but
And it wasn't Pinkett, but it was I
begin with
can't.
it. Yeah, but it's a whole new regime. So I don't know where people are coming off like that. But the one thing, Ray, and I wrote to you and Ralph, one of the other things is they did pick up Jelani Woods from the Colts, a tight end who's like 6'7", and apparently he looks the part. You hear all these good things, and then you wonder why, he was put on waivers. But the one thing I'll tell you about him, he had an okay rookie year. I think it was the last 2 years he was hurt, and we all agreed they definitely need help as far as tight end. We don't know what's going to happen with Jeremy Ruckert. We'll have to see. And of course, Andrew Beck made the team as a fullback, and we consider him kind of a fullback slash possibly tight end. Any feelings about that tight end position, Ray, with Jelani Woods?
Um, I think um, if Ruckert can produce something offensively besides blocking, that we're okay with him being there. But if not, then I think at some point they might give that Jelani a try. But I think Mason Taylor's the main thing. I mean, if he's what they think he's going to be, then I think our tight end room is going to look a little different than it has the past uh, couple of years.
Right.
With not a
Yes.
ton of not a ton of production out of it. But beyond Jelani, I was who was the guy we picked up from Kansas City?
Okay, we're going to talk about him. We'll get to him because they had to put him on the roster too, just like
Yeah,
Jelani Woods, because he was
yeah,
Isapol,
yeah.
who
Okay.
we'll get into Issa in just a second, but let me just mention Jelani Woods. Uh, he's a 26. He hasn't played since 2022. He had injuries the last 2 years. So, hopefully, he'll snap out of it. His rookie year, he had 25 receptions, 3 TDs. I mean, the guy produced. He only started 2 games. So hopefully he could turn his injury bug around. If he does, I have a good feeling about this guy, too. We'll have to see. I don't know how he is as a blocker. I've heard he's more of a receiving type of tight end, which is really the same thing as Stone Smart. Now, the thing Ray alluded to, and we'll get into him now, ESA, I think you pronounce it Isapol, he was an undrafted free agent from, I think it was either Washington or Washington State. And he had a really, really good preseason, but for some reason, the Kansas City, they put him on waivers and he didn't clear. They expected him to clear. The Jets picked him up, put him right on the 53-man roster. And if you see, I saw his grades and I think I have it here. He had a pass blocking grade of 84.1, near elite. He allowed 0 pressures and 49 pass blocking snaps. His overall PFF grade is 70.1. And running, it was 57.3, which means that he needs improvement. But this is the thing I liked, and then I'll tell you about a little negative. He was not flagged for a single penalty across 6 68 offensive snaps. Now, the negative of that is, and Ray always brings it up, who was he playing against? Obviously, it wasn't Micah Parsons and guys like that. Okay, but the thing I like about him, Ray, is that he really never played football till he went into community college, and he's just elevated and really gotten better and better from community college. He went to Washington, or Washington State, and became a starter. So this guy is trending upward. So I think that was a great pickup, Ray. Your thoughts?
I think it's worth a shot, definitely. I mean, you never know with the guys like that because when we talked about it, I said he's a he is in the same mold possibly as a Brandon Moore who wasn't an offensive lineman. The Jets got him and turned around. He turned into a guy who basically, what was he with us for 8 years, maybe eight
He
years?
was 8 or 9, and the thing was, he only missed like 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
He was
I mean, and
incredible,
he
and I
was good.
remember the year after retired, they asked him to come back, but he had dropped like 60 pounds, so he couldn't. Yeah, but
Yeah.
right, if we get a Brandon Moore out of this, that would be phenomenal. It really would.
No,
Um,
it might be a year. I mean, it might take him a year or two to really get to that point. But if if he shows that potential, I'm all for it.
right now, Ralph brought up a great point on the last one. I'm worried too. Our edge pass rushers, Ray, it's just not that strong right now. I mean, after Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson, what do we have? Tyler Barron made the team. I don't know how. And, we have Michael Clemens and Brady McGregor, but this is a weak point. I mean, again, I brought up, whose name for the last 3 or 4 years. Clowney, the defensive end, he's still not signed. I'd love to get a guy like that right now. I really would. Your thoughts on the defensive ends?
Well, as far as Clowney goes, I'm assuming he still wants top dollar, even if he isn't signed. Now, if they can get him at the right price, I'd be all right on that. But I'm not gonna say, go out there after him, just to get him. But we don't know anything about Jermaine Johnson yet, so it might not be as big an issue if he is close to 100% when he comes back. Who knows? I mean, it wasn't. I think it was closer to mid-season when that happened, or earlier in the season when it happened to him last year, wasn't it? So it wasn't a short recovery time. He's had quite a while to recover, hasn't he? I thought it
He
was.
has, and of course, all these guys that get the Achilles injuries, they love to put on social media pictures of them sprinting back and forth, doing all sorts of cuts. But we all know that once they're on the football field against offensive linemen, it's completely different seeing how
Yeah.
they push off and everything else like that. But you're absolutely right, Ray.
And there's a
The
mental side to it too. So I
Yeah,
mean, they're healed. They've got to be comfortable with it and feel like they can do everything they did before.
right, right. I want to just go through, Ray. Are there any positions? I mean, to me, I'll be honest with you, and we'll talk about this later in the week. I think it's going to be such a boring year on offense. I really believe that. I'm just not that optimistic. I think we have a good offensive line. I want to see what Mason Taylor does. If he could light it up a little bit, I think maybe there's some hope. I actually think that Brees Hall, you're going to see him out wide a lot. I mean, he might be getting a lot more passes than people think. Might be the second most targeted receiver on the Jets. So, your thoughts about the offensive depth chart right now?
Well, so I mean, we only played the first teamers very little in the preseason, so it's hard to make a real solid judgment about how they'll be. But I am worried just because I don't like uh, our receiving core as a whole at this point, and that worries me because uh, you know Philly was able to run the ball as well as throw it. I don't know that we're going to be able to do that, and in today's game, you can't. Our defense isn't going to be so dominant that we can only score 17 a game and win a bunch of games. We're going to have to score some points. And if we're just a running team, I don't know. I want to see what this receiving core looks like, starting next week, because I think Garrett's going to struggle if we don't have somebody on the other side. And I've said this before, if we don't have somebody on the other side that worries the defense, so that they can't just double team Garrett all the time with their best, guys. We got to have somebody who can stretch the field a little, somebody who can make plays and just make the defense think about it. Mason Taylor could have a lot to do with that too. In today's game, the tight end isn't just, short yardage guys. They can stretch the field too. So, but I think that's going to determine a lot of our offenses. We don't have to be a prolific passing team, but we got to be an effective one. We got to be one that can move the ball in the air, or it's going to be it's going to be an interesting year, because running the ball has not been our strong suit for a while, other than,
Right.
plays
And
here and there.
there will be some design running plays for our quarterback, Justin Fields,
Sure.
because he is a weapon.
Yeah.
I've kind of come 180 degrees, even though we overdrafted Arian Smith, the wide receiver. I guess we got him in the 4th round, and he had a lot of drops. I just have a much better feeling today, September 1st, than I did the day they drafted him, just because of the way he seems to be working in training camp and even in the games, the way he's running his routes and everything. He did have at least one drop. I really have some high hopes for this guy, Ray. The only thing I fear is the first pass to him, he just drops it if it's right in his letters. But hopefully,
If
he'll
he's
pay
the
that.
kind of guy, if he's the kind of guy that can make plays and affect the defense and help our offense, you're gonna have to put up with a drop, But if he catches enough passes and makes a difference, you're just gonna have to live with it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Ray, were you surprised at all that Kini Nwangwa made it? Ooh, I know.
Not even gonna try that one,
Okay.
but as far as pronouncing it, but I don't know, a little bit, but like I said, in our previous podcast, what we see on the field during the games was so limited, and they're seeing it, these guys in practice every day, and they're seeing them in drills and everything. So I just have to, believe that they, what they saw is right, and that they went with the right guy.
Yep. I think you're right. Now, I just want to let all Jets fans know that our number one draft pick, Armand Membo, he's going to have some growing pains. He showed some of those growing pains in the preseason. Expect more. Hopefully, unlike previous coaching staffs, they could do something where they'll have a running back or a tight end help out on some plays. Okay, but don't expect him, to be like an all-pro his first year. Okay, Ray, you would agree that he did make a few mistakes in the preseason.
Oh, yeah, he got beat a couple times. He had a couple holds, and then that was it the last game when he had a couple of jumps or was it the Giant game?
I think
One
it
of
was,
them he jumped off sides a couple times almost in a row.
yeah, I think it was a Philly game.
Yeah, I thought so too. But so yeah, he's tackle is the hardest position on the line. I
Right.
mean, center has to be uh he has to do the blocking scheme. He has to call out the blocking schemes. That the center, has more of a mental side, but physically the tackles are the toughest ones, because you're going against the guys who are the quickest, the
Right.
best, the best pass rushers, and so that's not easy for how big these guys are.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Ray, I
um,
just want to touch on the defense a little more, and then
yeah,
I want to mention something why I think there could be some positive things to happen for the Jets this season. We start talking about the defensive ends. And as you just said before, you have no idea. We have no idea what we're going to see from Jermaine Johnson. All right. So that's huge. Also, Brian Coward is on injured reserve for the whole year. They picked up this Harrison Phillips. Right now, as soon as I picked him up, he's number one in the depth chart. And they got this Jawan Briggs, too. Jay Tafili, he had that one good preseason game, the first one. And behind him is Leonard Taylor, the third, which we can't understand why he's not getting more love. I just don't understand it. But your feeling on the defensive line this year compared to last year?
Main thing is that pickup of Harrison Phillips to me. I think he'll make a ton of difference on the inside. And I think the one who will benefit, I keep saying I think Quinnen's going to have a good year, but I think we needed that guy next to him that also can take up blockers and kind of free up Quinnen to, get through the line. I think it's the defensive ends that are going to be the ones that we're going to be wondering about, with Clemens and if it's
Donald and
Donald or Jermaine
Brady
Johnson.
McGregor too.
McGregor.
Yeah.
I want to see something out of McGregor though. I like that. I like that we got him. So I want to see if he
right.
what he's got. I think he's I didn't follow him a lot in the preseason games. It was hard, all the numbers going in and out. I didn't know half the time. I didn't know who the hell was out there. But
right.
I want to see what if he develops at all this year.
Yeah. Linebackers Quincy Williams, Jamie Sherwood. I see Marcelino, McCrary, Ball. But behind him, they have Cam Jones, who they picked up. I've heard good things about him. So I think that is incomplete right now. That might change. I like Jamie Sherwood. I think he's really good. And Quincy Williams, we expect him to have another good year. I thought in the secondary, I actually thought Brandon Stevens showed me more than what I anticipated for when the Jets signed him as a free agent. What was your thoughts on this, Brandon Stevens?
I thought the defensive backfield looked okay. I didn't think they were bad in the preseason. I mean, the safety, but that's a teachable moment. The safety came up in that giant game and cut off Stiggers and let up the 80-yard.
Right, Cisco, Andre Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco. But all that stuff's teachable. That I didn't think any of them looked horrible. I actually thought I was happy with Stiggers in the preseason from what I saw. I'm hoping Sauce is in a bounce back year from last year. So I think the defensive backfield, the safeties are going to be to me, the bigger question than the DBs actually.
Right. So, and right now they have Cisco and Tony Adams as the starters. I'm not quite sure. I know Ralph was down and you were, I think, on Malachi Moore, but apparently last game he really looked good. But
yeah, he made a bunch of plays that last game.
Yeah. But I want to just talk about something. I remember years ago, and you and me were huge Bill Parcells fans. And I remember reading kind of like a white paper that he wrote, or he gave a speech to high school coaches, and he talked about how when he had a year where he didn't think he had a lot of talent, either on offense or defense, he would purposely spend a ton of time on special teams. And he thought that would keep them in the game and that would make them be competitive. And he was right, I think. And I'm mentioning that because I really believe the Jets special teams, if it continues what we saw with this Austin McNamara punter, that guy was phenomenal. And Nick Falk was really, really good too. My only thing is, and they're big on this. Well, I don't want to say they're big, but they have Xavier Gibson as a starter and returning punts. And, we were all hoping that it would be Pritchard, which it's not. By the way, I want to mention about Pritchard because I heard this, and you and Ralph would love the stat. And I know it's preseason stats, but he led the NFL in having the defense miss tackles on him, which is phenomenal, which I don't quite understand why he's
Not
not on the
surprised.
53.
Oh, I don't either, but
Yeah,
I thought, and who knows again how he looked in practice or how Gibson looked in practice, more importantly. But all I know is in that Philly game, he got the one, was it the pass or the punt? And he made three guys miss on the
oh, he was
one.
great.
It
Yeah,
was
he was
like,
great. We love him.
I
And,
saw that and I'm like, he's on the team. I didn't think there was any
right.
doubt at that.
And like you said, the miracle is that he wasn't picked up. But I just want to reiterate, I think special teams, except for our punt returner, I'm not, Xavier Gibson, he's kind of like this generation's Mike Battle. And if you're not an old time Jet fans, you can look up Mike Battle. He returned a punt for a touchdown in the preseason game, the first time the Jets played the Giants, and that kept him on the team for like 2 or 3 years. And Xavier Gibson, since he returned that punt against Buffalo, the guy hasn't done a thing. He really hasn't done anything, both as punt returner and slot receiver, I guess. So we'll have to see what happens. They asked Aaron Glenn, and he says that he's explosive, and I'm assuming he's talking about that in practice. Your feelings on Xavier Gibson?
I mean, we've seen him for 2 years. I don't know that I expect anything different. I'll hope that he all of a sudden, breaks through and has a really good year, no doubt about it. But I'll believe it when I see it, type of thing. As
Yeah,
far as Parcells, that was one of his first things when he got to the Jets was he started, you know, teaching the guys on punt returns and all the all the special team stuff. He was always big on the special teams. And the punter and the punt returner are the two that can change the game the most. I mean, and that's why this guy, if McNamara does in the season what he did in the preseason, I mean, that guy's gonna be able to save us a lot. But he can flip the field with
right.
the he kicks. I mean, he doesn't just kick them, 50 some yards. He kicks them so high that he's not out kicking his coverage. They're fair catching them after 55 yards or more. If he can do that in the regular, and then he was dropping a lot of them
Yes.
inside the 15, a couple inside the 10. If he can do that, it's going to help a lot, you know.
And we all know it's the preseason. The preseason is not the regular season, so we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Anything else, Ray, before we cut this off or we end this? It's really a shortened version. Anything you want to add? Anything going on at all? Micah Parsons' contract? Anything else?
Did you see they said the Packers just announced he has a back issue
I heard that. I saw
I,
that.
that would keep him
So
out.
does that mean is he going to play the first game?
I didn't hear anything about the severity, but it sounded like it might be something that he's actually uh, maybe on the, I don't know about, not like the whole season IR, but maybe it's going to be something that'll put him out a few games. And
Yeah,
so, yeah,
I know that.
maybe they should have had the doctors check him out before they made
Right.
that.
Oh boy. Yeah. All
Maybe
right.
Jerry.
Yeah. Anyway, so with that, and hopefully I know how to hit the right switch. We're going to close this out. We'll be on later in the week with our preview show. We'll have Ralph back. Everyone loves Ralph. So for Ray Clifford in Marysville, Ohio, and I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York. Until next time.